let's just sew whatever.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making the Lauren bag. Is it? Oh, sorry. Is it? I don't know. She's never looked like this. I heavily modified my own pattern, which is what I'm really good at. We've added a zipper panel, we added hidden strap connectors, a little accent overlay, zipper overlay to the front, these fun little strap connectors here, and then we added a zipper pocket and a cargo slip pocket inside. We made it as a drop-in liner. We had all kinds of fun, and by we I mean me, because there was nobody else here but the cats and myself. What a good day. But yeah, I do have a video showing you how to cut this. It is kind of like a slouchy but structured bag. I even added some fun top stitching on the bottom that I'm really happy with. So yeah, let's get into making it. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already. And you can grab the pattern on my website, but just keep in mind that we've changed a lot. Also, all of the materials used are available on my website. Let's go ahead and get started on making our modified Lauren bag. We are going to need 4 1-inch square rings and then 2 1-inch D-rings for our bag. I'm going to get started by top stitching the bottom. I'm using like an ecru color for the bag, and so I want to top stitch the base of the bag to kind of stand out as well, and I think this keeps our Decoville heavy from lifting over time. So I'm just going to do 1 inch from the edge of the Decoville heavy. So I've got that marked out. I've got my stitch length set to 5, and I'm going to lower my needle down in, ooh, wait a minute. It actually would look really cool just the way I have it drawn, to be honest, and have it like intersecting in the corner. So I'll secure those stitching lines in the seam allowance. Yeah, I like it. And then it just kind of like creates these cool intersecting lines. I'm into it. Could also have added a little bit of foam to the base to give the bag more structure, or if you wanted to add even more structure, 2 layers of Decoville heavy, but I really like the way that looks. I think it's kind of classy, and yet it was much easier to accomplish. So what we're going to do now is top stitch on these little side accent pieces. And I got these pieces from the Charlotte handbag from Swoon Sewing Patterns, and I just traced the side accent contrast piece just as it is. I didn't cut it on the fold as it is intentioned for. I just completely cut it as is, and I'm top stitching a little accent piece, and then I'll sew around the rest of it. And there is a little corner cut out, and I will cut that corner out once it's secured. And I'm just top stitching that all along the sides, and then I'll cut this. If you didn't want to add additional structure, you could cut away the fabric underneath, but I want this to add more structure to the bag, so I'm going to keep it. And then just quickly gonna baste around the corner as well. I just feel like, there we go. Bottom of my chair. I can't quite get to where I want to be. Okay. And I am keeping my eye on the inside edge of my foot. So I've got the inner foot and the outer foot, and I'm keeping the fabric lined up right in between the two. And I'm just feeling the edge of my fabric to baste that down and cut away my excess. Okay. So there is that piece. And then I think before I get too far, I want to just measure 5 inches from each side and make a little mark at the top. And that's where my strap connector is going to go onto the bag. So there's that piece. I really like the bag feels kind of slouchy while still having some structure. This vinyl is just so soft. And I just added a little snip into my material. Oops. Where those accents are. And I definitely could have trimmed it down first, but I was like, well, I don't know. I have not made this. Here, let's go ahead and just cut it. Made this bag with this kind of accent before, to my knowledge anyway. But give yourself some grace and go slow if you're top stitching on accent pieces, especially with a contrasting thread. It's probably safer to use a contrasting vinyl and a thread that really blends in. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I just wanna have some fun. All right, and now we are going to sew around the outside edge with nice long thread tails on our zipper overlay. And I've got to kind of lean my head in close just because I think I've already said this like 4 times today, but I think I need glasses. Starting to need them. And I'm just going slow. I'm leaving my foot down to kind of pivot, using my hand wheel, keeping everything in line. If you have a machine that has an automatic needle positioner, it's not as easy to do, but it's not impossible. So I'm getting close to the other curve, so I just want to go slow. Needle down, pivot, pivot, pivot. We're on the straight side. And again, we can repeat. Okay, and then we have one more stitch to make, and we want to make sure that that gets into the hole that we stopped so that our disguise is seamless. That was a fun little noise. And then we're going to pull our threads to the back. There we go. All right, and then I like to keep my threads at varying lengths so that I know which ones go together. So my longest ones are the ones I ended with, and those go together. And then my shortest. Go together. And now we're going to cut away the fabric on the inside. I'm going to flip that around and just go nice and slow, leaving about 1/4 of an inch, and do not cut through your exterior fabric. And I love using my Kai scissors for this. If you are using a fabric, you could just, yeah, there we go. We can just glide across it. They're so sharp. I do have a coupon code. It is not affiliate link. You can use code SEW-WHATEVER, and that'll get you 20% off of your scissor order. I also sell some engraved scissors on my website that are from Kai that say Sloppy Sewist or Let's Just Sew Whatever. But those are not discounted. Okay. That's nice. That looks good. So now we're going to pick out some zipper tape. I decided to go with a light gold. Oh, that would be cute. Maybe we'll add like a fun tassel. So I think I'm just gonna grab a white. Haha, perfect. White zipper tape. I think that'll pop nicely without being like, ooh, too much. So I need a total of 3 zippers. We need 2 that are about 10 inches long. And then we need 1 for our recessed zipper panel. So that is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and add my zipper pull with my zipper jig to my zipper tape there. And I'll just set the rest aside for right now. I accidentally cut 2 of my lining pieces for my zipper pocket a little bit bigger than I needed them. So I'm going to use that on my interior zipper pockets. But the normal sized ones I'll use for the exterior because we're not, you know, turning through this or anything. And so when we're doing a recessed zipper pocket with an overlay, we're going to lay our zipper down face up onto our lining face up. We'll sew that on at 1/4 of an inch. And we'll flip that. we'll press that flat. You can also iron it. I'm going to grab some 1/4 inch double-sided tape. And lay that over my stitch lines. And we are going to sew this on in 2 separate lines of stitching. If you would prefer to just do one, that is okay. But both lining pieces are going to be face up at the moment. I went ahead and just peeled off both pieces because we can always restick, and we want to make sure that our lining fabric is in line with our overlay, and that we have an equal amount of the zipper tape showing on that overlay. And try not to press down until you are sure. Like right now, it's not even. And I pressed down, but that's okay. We can just peel that off. And I'm actually gonna sew, well, yeah, I'm gonna sew this down. Shouldn't have done that through my tape, but it doesn't matter on my machine. It's just walking over it. But now everything is sitting nice and flat to be able to do this. Yeah, there we go. So I can see everything a little clearer, more clearly. There we go. All right, so we're just gonna sew with long thread tails again underneath here. Yeah. And we're stopping about 1/4 inch from either side. Pulling those tails to the back. I asked in another one of my videos where I had a lot of different threads not trimmed. I was like, is this driving anyone nuts? And people were like, yes, it's driving me nuts. So I apologize if it drove you nuts. That was not my intention. But it made me giggle a little bit. Not in a maniacal way, but just like showing how different brains work, you know? It doesn't bother me, but it bothers you. So I apologize, but yeah. Anyway, I'm doing it again. I'm just gonna leave it. All right, so we're gonna press this nice and flat down, and this one as well. And we'll bring our zipper pull in when we start to sew. But what I prefer to do when I can, we gotta leave our thread tails long again, is we're gonna start on the opposite end. I've got my needle down in the hole where I started, and we're gonna sew up and around. And right now, our zipper pull has remained out of the way. We can push that in, reline up our zipper tape, move this down. And then again, stop exactly where you need to. Long thread tails. And we'll pull that to the back. And then we'll be able to trim this so that it is even. And then we'll sew all the way around. And flip that over. We don't need to leave any part of this open. Our zipper pull is attached. It is a functioning pocket. Good to go. And then before we move on, we're going to make that little mark at 5 inches again. This is where our strap connectors are going to go. And we want to add our nameplate. And I like to put a piece of foam behind the nameplate. So I'm just going to poke some holes into that foam, and we'll find our center here. Grab a little bit like a ruler. Okay, so this is 13. So 7.5 is my center. Well, yeah, okay, another thing we can do is just find that 7.5. Make a line. There we go. So I'm gonna place this 4 inches up. Centered. Why does that not look centered? Was this not centered? Okay, there's 4 inches. 4 inches, so that's good. Oh, yeah, okay. It's because that's not 1, 2, 6.5. There we go. Boy, that would have been bad. There we go. That's centered. Very thankful that I can kind of see centered. I can eyeball centered. Not amazing, but not terrible, you know. All right, we're gonna seam rip that open, not through the zipper pocket. That'd be bad. Very gently. We'll insert that nameplate hardware, flip that, and then add our little piece of foam. I think it just gives it this nice little squish. And then the washer. And I like to press that out. Gives it that little pew. And then the foam isn't interfaced or anything, it's just sitting there, so it's not going to create any weird lines. So then we can attach our base. This is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm not going to be top stitching that. Oh, that would have been so satisfying if those lined up. That would have been cool. And then I'll attach this side. And now we are going to be attaching hidden connectors to the side seams. So we're gonna have to do a little bit extra to make this work. I'm gonna clip this together for now and make some marks. I wanna make sure that my accent pieces line up as well as they can. Make sure the base here lines up, and then we'll line up the top. I like to add a clip further into my materials on the top and the bottom, just to help hold those panels together straight when I don't have a clip in place, or if I'm unable to have a clip in place, I should say. So we're gonna set that aside for right now because we have to prep our D-ring connectors. And really we have to prep all of our connectors. So we're gonna start there. These two are for my D-ring though. So I am just wrapping the vinyl around the interfacing that I added. And this makes it really nice and crisp, and it's gonna hold up over time, especially since this vinyl has a bit more stretch and slouch to it. You're gonna want something that helps with the longevity of the material. There are a lot of vinyls that I carry that I don't feel need any extra help in that way. All right, and we're gonna do just 1/8 of an inch top stitch. You can choose to do 1/8 and 1/4 if you would like, but I don't think it needs it. So there's that. And then, so my plan for these other connectors is, like I said, I did this in a live video a couple months ago, but I'm gonna wrap this around the interfacing to create these 1-inch wide pieces. And then I'm gonna kind of make the end a different shape because it's gonna be raw edged. So I'm not sure what it'll be yet. I don't know if I wanna make it like a little semicircle curve to kind of go with the zipper overlay, or if I wanna make it the point that I created last time, but I feel like the point worked for that bag, but it won't for this one, because this one has like more curved pieces, obviously. And then this backside does not matter because you're not gonna see it. We're gonna be riveting it down into place, and so it really won't matter. And now I'm imagining how I'm going to rivet it because I'm adding that zipper panel, but they'll be through the lining as well, but I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. And yeah, so it's gonna get sewn into the seam like this, and then we'll fold and add our hardware and place that down and then add 2 rivets. So I think I wanna do the little semicircle. So I'm gonna see if I have something I can trace. And yes, I do. Got a D-ring right here. Yep, that's perfect. And you could also edge coat this. We don't have to edge coat it now. You can actually edge coat it after it's on the bag. So that's really up to you. And then the other cool thing we can do is we can actually add a D-ring when we rivet it on as well, for adding like little keychains too if you want. And just make sure you take away that silver ink pen before it dries. So I like to just take a nice sharp pair of scissors and slowly close to follow the shape. Okay. So now we're going to top stitch this all the way around at 1/8 of an inch. So we'll go down, stop, and go around the bottom curve, nice and slow. And if I had added 2 rows of stitching to any other pieces, I might consider adding 2 rows, but I think with the obvious enough top stitching, it's not going to matter. They're so cute. Hello, Ben. Last one. Yay. So what I will do with these before I get started is I'm gonna sew these into place. And these are gonna get sewn on like they'll be seen in the bag later, because when they fold up and put everything together, they'll be that way, and then we'll rivet it on at our hardware. And this, I'm going to center over my 5-inch mark. So like I can see the center of my connector, and that's where I'm lining that up. And then I'll just baste it really quick. And what's fun is we can kind of angle that connector when we go to rivet it. We don't have to, but we can, but just so it's not like right over our zipper, you know. And now for this side, since I have everything together, I'm just gonna line my connectors up at the top of the bag. And clip that, and you can place it further down up into your seam allowance, I should say, if you want to, but I don't think we're gonna need to for this, so I'm not going to. And I'm just going all the way across the top. If you want to save on thread and just baste where you need to, you absolutely can. I am not back stitching through too much because back stitching can just end up perforating the vinyl in the end, and we don't want to do that. All right, we're on to our little hidden connector in the side seam, and I'm going to place that 1.5 inches down. So I'm just going to make Hello, Ben. A line at 1.5 inches. And I'm going to sew to it, jump over, and then sew the other way, back stitching in and out. So we're going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're coming up to that line. I'm going to back stitch, jump over, back stitch, and continue on. And that makes it so we have just this little tiny jump stitch right where we need it to be, and we can snip it and repeat. Back stitch, jump over, go back stitch, and I am back stitching over where my connector is, or not my connector, but my little accent piece as well. Okay. So now the bottom, we're essentially, not essentially, do I say that too much? Yeah, probably. Okay, where is my little hidden strap connector tool? Right here. So actually we could just trace this, line this up. This is from Jalili Creations. This is the hidden strap connector template, and it has a center line. So we can just line that up at our side seam and trace that. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut the top and the side. And that's it. I'm going to repeat that on the other side. And I have a 1 inch connector, so I'm using the 1 inch side of the template. So we'll cut across and down, and do not cut past what you need. That is a pen cap, not a scissor cap. So I'm gonna grab a little bit double-sided tape here at my side seam. That's just gonna help me hold my excess fabric in place. So we can open that side seam. And at this point, your sides are secure, so you can remove those extra little clips. And we're just gonna fold open this side seam. Technically, we could also top stitch this if you wanted to, but for me, it would be, well, no, it's not too much with the side accents, because this vinyl like isn't too thick, but I don't think I want the side seams to stand out that much. But again, I'm gonna just take a little bit of tape here to help hold that. Down. And depending on your vinyl, you might actually end up wanting to trim your seam allowance a little bit, but I think we'll be fine. So I think top and bottom, get it nice and flat so that it almost mimics just a regular piece of fabric at this point. On the other bag that I made with this, the Harmonica Hobo, I did top stitch the sides and I really liked the way it looked, but I feel like it's really just going to depend on your project that you're working on if top stitching that is going to look good or not. All right, so we need our D-rings. We don't need our square rings until the very end of construction, but we do need those D-rings. We are going to slide our connector in at the top of that opening and slide that down, keeping about an inch above on the top. We have the wrong side face up. Our flap fabric is sitting nicely, and we are going to top stitch just above that little trapezoidal shape, only through our connector and our side seam laying flat. Make sure that your piece is centered, and I am doing it at about 1/4 of an inch from up above that flap so that I know I am for sure catching the fabric behind it. So that is where I've stitched, and our flap is still completely open. And we'll repeat that on the other side, about 1/4 of an inch above. And then you're just gonna go from like your top stitched seam to your other top stitch seam. And you can backstitch here quite a bit, not too much, but you know, just enough. And now we'll slide our D-ring on, and we're gonna fold our connector over and then flip that through the side seam here, also pushing the flap in. And what that does is it hides that little flap piece and brings everything together. And so right now underneath, I'm pinching together my 2 pieces of this connector and my flap. I like the distance I've got here, so I'm going to fold this down, pinch everything as flat as I can without disrupting how much fabric is in my hand. Flatten that down. Get a nice crisp view of what I need to sew. And we're going to sew through our flap and our connectors. And now that is in place, and we'll mark out where to add 2 rivets. I think the rivets are pretty key in helping keep everything together. So I've got 2 little dots there. So go ahead and punch those holes. And then we'll repeat all that on the other side. Make sure you're only punching through what should be punched through. Oh, jeez. Evermore has awakened from her slumber. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my rivets and set those really quick. I don't want to forget. So we'll need a total of 4 rivets for this section. All right. now we can repeat all of that on the other side. Add our D-ring, push that down and in, and pull it to where it looks close to the other side. I've got like maybe 3/8 of that fabric showing, and then pinch all of that together, holding that, flatten the bag. Oh no, my needle came unthreaded. Right now my foot is holding, the foot of my machine I should say, is holding all of my materials together just where they should be. There we go. And then if you backstitch, you can just backstitch down a little bit further into that connector. And that looks good. And mark. When one cat leaves, another arrives, huh? And I haven't squared the bottom of this bag yet. You probably could and it wouldn't interrupt any of this. I just feel like it's easier to just not. Okay, so there's one. And then come in on the other side of that D-ring. Two. And then don't forget to set your rivets. I've definitely done that before with a bag where I like put my rivets in and then I was like, oh, when I got done. Okay, setting those. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and square off the bottom of the bag. And I like to fold my side seam flat. And fold the bottom down like that. And we could definitely do this bag as a drop-in versus a turned bag. But I don't know if I'll do that. So I'm gonna kind of start a little ways oh my gosh. Lost my thread again. This is just user error. This has nothing to do with the machine. Okay. Go all the way across the side. Everything is sewn. I don't know that I really care about trimming anything because we're already making our lining just a little bit smaller by adding that recessed zipper panel. So I don't think they're gonna like fight each other to exist. Oh my goodness, stop it. It looks so fun. And like, I needed this. Girls be like, I needed this, and it's just sewing a bag that doesn't have a pattern because your brain can. Eek. And so when it's done, these square rings are gonna sit here because they're gonna be down in the lining. These will get, you know, either riveted on like that. That could be fun. Kind of rivet it through where that starts. I can't do that now, obviously. We have to add our lining still. Wait a minute. Unless we did a drop-in, then it truly wouldn't matter because we would have folded this all the way down. I think I'll probably do that because I really don't want to rivet through my lining, but I do need to rivet. Oh wait, no, I can't because I still have to top stitch it. Although I guess I could top stitch through it and rivet it, and that wouldn't matter. Either way, I'm just gonna start by folding this down across the top. And I'll think about it while I sew the lining. What time is it? 2:30. Clips are flying. Y'all better watch out. Okay. Oh, I think it looks so good. And I love the like slouch that it has. We've got this nice structured pocket in front. We can add a fun tassel. We can rivet that there to kind of meet in a nice spot, or yeah, I like them a little bit longer, you know, like that. But we'll set that aside for now and we'll work on our lining. So we can start by attaching our zipper. I'm gonna use a little paw print pull just because we've got the leopard. It is the same shape as my pop tab pull, so it really is cohesive while still being a fun little change and like a nod to the leopard print. And that is inspired by the Emporium. My friend Brittany. And when I do zipper pockets, I like to keep everything lined up on one side. So there's that. And I'm just kind of prepping a bunch of different things at the moment. So next I'm gonna peel off this 1/4 inch double-sided tape that I applied to the wrong side of our slip pocket. And I'm just gonna fold that over once. I am not worried about that fraying over time. And I'm gonna just top stitch all the way across that edge at about 1/4 inch. And then you can also do 1/8 inch if you feel like you didn't catch it, but we definitely did. So I'm gonna fold this in half, wrong side up. We're creating a little cargo slip pocket. And then I'm gonna lay my ruler next to it. Fold that, move the ruler, and that creased line I'm gonna back stitch. Back stitch. I'm going to fold this line. Back stitch. Back stitch, and I just repeated going on the other side of the center line at that point. I'm going to take my lighter to any little fuzzy threads at the top, because we're not actually going to see the bottom of that at any point. All right, sorry. All right, we're gonna grab our lining piece that is shorter so that we can hide the seam along the bottom. Although, do I want to do that? Or no, yeah? All right, what we're gonna do, some kind of different. We could add a little strip at the bottom of vinyl or something like that to make it look nice. But what I'm gonna do is, I've got the top stitch edges folded to meet each other in the middle, and I'm going to clip along the top and the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I want this to be up a little bit higher than the bottom is going to allow me to do. So we could either tape it and fold it, but what I'm gonna do is make a little mark with an erasable pen at 2 inches from the bottom. And we are going to lay the pocket, find our center, make sure to have a nice little crease. We're gonna lay our pocket center on that center line. There. Up against that line we just drew. And we're gonna sew this into place at like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. But then we'll be able to flip this up and we'll have no raw edge. And it'll be up a little bit higher, which will be nice. And the materials I'm using are thin enough that it's not gonna matter. The extra little bit of bulk this adds is not gonna matter. But I find this easier too than like fighting this little tiny piece double-sided tape. Okay, but well, that looks really nice, I think. What we have to do now is stitch down the center. So we're just going to open this up, back stitch at the top, come down the center, and that'll hold the pocket in place there. And technically we don't have to stitch down the bottom, but I'm gonna. And that is kind of creating like a faux French seam situation where now you're not even gonna see that raw edge. Me likey. Okay, so there's that pocket done. We've got these nice big cargo pockets. We'll sew along the side. And then something that I have seen in a Sincerely Jen pattern with a cargo pocket is that she will actually do a little top stitch along the side corner to make like a little pen pocket, essentially. So I'm like, why not? Let's do it. We're just having fun. Why not? And so that is so that when you go to square the bag, you don't have this like gaping open pocket. You've got like this little pocket here, little pocket there, and then these two pockets here. Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. So we'll set that aside for now. We're gonna put that upper lining piece that we've created with it. And we've got our zipper overlay and our really long lining piece. And in my cutting video, I explained that this is the lining piece with the base already connected. So it's a little bit quicker to sew, but you could also just cut it to where your exterior is made from these same exact pieces. Or I should say your interior and your exterior are made from the same pieces. All right, so we're gonna place this 2 inches down, centered. I'll fold this in half. The top there. Peeling off my tape, and before I secure it, just gonna gently press it, because the tape isn't gonna stick too much until you like really press it down. So I'm just using what I call Ouija board hands to gently press the top down and then kind of make sure nothing is stretched before you press the rest. So that looks great. We can add a little woven label. And I have these little L labels with my little signature. Kind of silly, but here we go. Long thread tails to start this off. We'll repeat what we did on the exterior. All right, and then we've got one little stitch to make it back to where we started. Pull our threads to the back. Okay, I've got that tied off, and I'm gonna melt it a little bit. You just want to make sure that you don't melt it to the point where you just undid all the tying you just did. All right, and now we can just slide our scissors, so long as we're not running into the tape. There we go. There we are. So pretty. I love these colors together. Okay, I'm gonna press that down as much as I can. And then we'll add double-sided tape. I can't believe I haven't made my straps yet. That is very, very unlike me. But we'll have to make it with the next bobbin. Okay, pressing this down. I'm not worried about it looking as good as the exterior did, but hopefully we can still get it there. Looks nice. So I'm going to start at the top next to my zipper. No, not going to do that. Starting underneath. Both lining pieces are facing up. So across the bottom. Pull all that away. Thread to the back. Excuse you. I like to finger press the bottom one nice and flat, and then that top one good to go. We're going to start in the corner opposite of our zipper pull. Needle down in the hole we started in. All right, we're coming up on our zipper pull, so I'm going to leave my needle down. Push the pull in. And just kind of straighten that back out and pivot. So down. I think I've decided that no matter what I do, I'm just going to do this as a drop-in lining, even if I sew it another time. So I don't need to leave an opening in the bottom. I'll complete my lining, complete my exterior, and then put it together. All right. The longer your thread tails, well, not necessarily the easier it is, but you could trim them to an easier length. So I'm just going to cut that to match, keeping everything nice and flat. And then I'll clip this together. And we'll sew all the way around in a U shape. And run out of bobbin at some point. Nice. All right, so now it's time to work on our zipper panel. So I'm going to grab our final zipper pull and place that on our zipper tape. And then at the top here, we'll use a clip to hold that together. And take my lighter, melt it to get it to stick. And you don't want to melt the zipper part, you just want to melt the fabric. And get that as even as possible. trim any excess. There you go. And this is longer than we need it, but we'll trim the extra later. For our zipper panel, we're going to grab some 1/2 inch wide double-sided tape, a 1-inch ruler, and a marking pen. And we are going to measure 1 inch along the short side of our zipper panel. You could also choose to just try it with a 1/4 inch line. I just think it's not quite enough fabric for my liking, hidden away. If you wanted your zipper panel to have quite a lot of structure, you could add maybe just a little bit of woven interfacing, or attach Decoville light to one side of each side, so the top of each, and just make sure that it's out of your seam allowances. So that way it's adding quite a bit of structure without adding bulk. And then we're just going to attach double-sided tape next to the line we made so that there's 1/2 inch there, 1/2 inch of tape. Peel that away and fold the raw edge to meet the line you've made. One of my cats is going to town on some plastic. I feel like the 1/2 inch double-sided tape might be overkill, if I'm being honest. You could just use 1/4, but I know that it won't go anywhere. The double-sided tape that I'm using is from Weft and Warp Co. And I really like that you can just tear it with your fingers instead of having to cut. I think it takes a lot of extra time. So I like to just rip it. I do carry that on my website as well. And we are creating a total of 4 of these pieces. There are other ways to make a zipper panel. So if you have a method you like better, just make sure you're doing the math for that. And then I am not worried about the direction that I put my zipper in on any of this. So we're going to take 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape now, and on one side where we want our zipper to go, we're just going to lay that down. And now we'll start with 2 of the pieces, and we're going to peel off our double-sided tape, and we're going to lay our zipper face down on whatever your exterior is and gently press it. You don't want to manipulate it too much. You don't want to stretch or pull on it. And then we'll peel off the other side and stick that behind here. If you did not want to tape this, you could just sew it, like add some little basting. And we're going to sew this at a 3/8 of an inch or a 1/4, whatever you're able to. Oh, and there went our bobbin. I do not sew all the way to the end. I leave about 1/8 of an inch of a gap between where I start and stop stitching. And then I'm going to press one side first, and then I'll flip that over and I'll press the other side. I find it much easier to just focus on one side than trying to get both sides of it perfectly into place. And now we can top stitch. Start where you're going to be sewing it into the seam. You don't want to start where it's going to be seen that you're back stitching. I feel like a light just went out. And we've sewn around all 4 sides. That keeps everything nice and secure for later. So then we're just going to repeat all of those steps on the other side. Pressing that into place. And your linings will be right sides together and your exteriors will be right sides together. You will not see your zipper tape. It's going to be hidden in between those layers, and that's what you want. Hello, Evermore. Three-eighths or as close as you can. Ooh, this would be a good bag to add like a water bottle pocket to, or maybe like one of Sonar's like eyeglass case sleeves that she just kind of pops up. Pops into the seam, sorry. Now we're just sewing around all 4 sides again. And we want to make sure that where we are back stitching is hidden in a seam. Hello, ma'am. Okay, so now we want to mark our centers. I really should make my straps. And I like to just cut a nice sharp triangle out of it. I'll set that aside. I'm gonna make my straps. I'll regret it if I don't. Because I'll be like, oh, it's almost done. Gotta make those straps. Just gotta do it. And if you were worried about the stretch of your handle at all, you could slide a piece of fabric in there that doesn't have any stretch to it, like waterproof canvas, just to help keep it from stretching over time. But I don't think this one has as much stretch as some of our clay vinyls, and we make sure to mention it in the listing. We're going to start on one side, do a little back stitch, and I'm going to fold this and top stitch the open edge first, pivot, and you want to sew around all 4 sides. any excess we can just trim away, and you can add a little strap end if you'd like. I just don't usually care. I used to. I really did. Really let my straps go, you know? Okay, fold that down. I like to start in the center. I'm not forcing or pulling the material in any way. I'm just pressing it to the center. And hold your threads when you start. Okay. Oh, goodness. All right, see, handles are done. Didn't take long. I let my brain turn off while I did it, so then now we can come back to this and be excited. All right, I want my zippers to zip towards the same direction. You don't have to want that, just so you know. You could put them in other directions. And we want to take up as little seam allowance as possible for this. So I'm going to baste this on at 1/8. And then I'm going to sew it on at 1/4. So it's really not a lot of seam allowance, but it is enough. And that way we don't lose too much of our lining. Because we didn't, this isn't a different pattern piece, we use the same one. And so if we take away with seam allowance, it's going to be way too small. Because technically right now it's already 1/2 inch smaller because you've taken 1/4 inch of both sides. But I don't think it'll be a problem. I do want my zipper to sit inside the bag, so I'm going to fold my seam allowance up, press that down, and top stitch above the zipper panel through that top lining piece. And now we'll repeat that with the top of our other side of the lining. And I just really like to fold in half to cut that snipped mark. And now we're taking our zipper panel only, lining that up with the top of the lining. So our little cutouts should be at the bottom. Basting that at 1/8. And you do not have to baste it. I just prefer it. I like that it's not going to shift around anywhere. And then lining up that other piece. This is going to be 1/4 inch. We'll get started there. And continue on. And repeat the top. Voila. So then we'll take this long piece to finish off the side of our lining, and we're going to sew that at a 1/2 inch, about maybe 1/2 inch to 3/8. And I will trim that down just a little bit. And we can just finish off this lining. We're going to line up the side where we've attached the zipper panel. Want to make sure those line up nicely. And we're going to start at 1/2. And actually, we'll keep it pretty consistent to that 1/2 inch seam allowance. We really don't need to increase it because our lining is already set up to be smaller. Turn that. And most importantly, we want to keep that top edge lined up. And then just to make it a little bit easier, what we can do now is kind of fold the bottom flat and snip the center so that when we bring our lining together, it's a little bit easier. Okay, I'm going to trim this up. Okay. Girl, what is you doing? All right, so we're gonna fold the bottom shut. I'm gonna butterfly that seam. And I'm gonna do this at 3/8 of an inch just because our bottom is already smaller. And so I don't want it to get off by too much. Ooh, that zipper panel is perfection. Not that I didn't think it would be, but you know, when you haven't made it before, I'm like, I know what I'm talking about, but there are times where I'm like, what? I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Trim that down just in case. All right. So now we are going to mark the top of our bag. We're going to measure 1/2 inch from the top. This is creating that drop-in lining, and we're gaining back a little bit because we're doing like a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. We're going to be folding it to that line. But again, this is giving us back some of what we have taken away from the interior by adding that zipper panel. So I'm just going to take some 1/4 inch double-sided tape. And line that up at the top of the line. Flip this over. Okay, what is so fun to me about this is such a simple tote. You know, it's it's not complicated. It can be complicated. I feel like I've just made it really complicated, you know? I'm gonna snip right at the top, not too close to the seam allowance, but that's gonna help everything sit flat without making the side seam sit weird, so that we can open this up. And then fold this down. And then I'm gonna clip it for a little bit and set it aside because we've got to worry about riveting our handles first. And just going, oh, RIP, you worked hard. Slowly around the top, clipping as we go. I might put this in the exterior just to see how it fits and then rivet connectors and everything just to see how it feels. If you're worried about it when you cut this, if you were to cut this, you can also just kind of create separate pieces and attach, add that seam allowance of whatever you'd like in. But I'm like, nah, it's good. Oh, it looks so pretty. Okay. Ooh. So little issue that I'm feeling, but maybe not. Hey. Okay, we're good. You really don't want your zipper pocket to be longer than the base of your lining or things won't really sit well. But I want my zippers to zip shut in every direction. I should say in the same direction on each end. So yeah, I feel like that is gonna fit really nicely. And nothing is too bulky. If I did rivet through the lining, you wouldn't know. Because it would be like hidden in the slip pocket. What fell? Something fell? I don't know. Nothing fell. No, that fits so beautifully. Like, you don't even know. Okay. I'm really happy with that. The structure is really nice as well. So yeah, if I've riveted through, it wouldn't make any difference to any part of the bag. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip everything and top stitch it and then add hardware and everything, because I think I'll just be happier with it overall that way instead of top stitching through my connector. Are you helping me or hurting me, Evermore? Hey! Stop it. Stop it. That's my mom voice, I apologize. Dude, I'm obsessed with this bag right now. Oh my God. It's so fun. And like this for me is just so, this is my favorite thing about bag making, is just being able to like tweak something here, tweak something there, and just come up with something that feels completely new, but it isn't. Like, and everything just sits so nicely. Like the lining is not too big and it's like not too small. There's plenty of room in here for all kinds of things. And then that zipper panel is going to, like I said, just kind of suck in the shape without making it, because like the regular Lauren is a zipper at the top, so it comes in so much more. So now it's like more boxy in how it's shaped, especially once you add like a crossbody strap, which I'll probably just do out of a webbing. So yeah, we'll go ahead and top stitch this, keep these up and out of the way. Unzip the panel. Like even where the zipper panel sits, get out of here. It's like sitting right at the top of there and like right at the top of there. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So I prefer to top stitch smooshing my bag like this so that I have my exterior facing up. And of course I could switch to my cylinder arm, but I don't have much time left in my day. And if I weren't filming this, I could do that a little more easily. You gotta get out. Make sure you're not sewing through your zipper panel or anything like that. Got that top stitched. And then we can pull our threads through, give them a little tie, and then kind of stick them, hide them in the lining. Yeah, and I think when we rivet through the exterior and the lining, it's just gonna help keep the lining down into place that much more. Anyway. Alrighty. So I want my square ring to just sit right on the top of the bag, like that. And give it the teeniest, slightest angle. Like that. And I feel like this is a really great way for someone with a domestic to also add strap connectors because they look really nice, in my opinion. And they're not adding too much bulk because it's just 2 layers of vinyl. I also think this connector kind of angled like that. It's so silly, but I like that it adds, like, hides that area a little bit, you know, because we can't always sew that perfectly. But there's that in place. Zipped shut. Let me go ahead, since we're already top stitched, I like my zipper to just trail a little bit off the side, and we'll add our glitter clip to the end and leave that there forever. So you can add a 13mm zipper end that we carry on the website, which is kind of like the size of a Hershey's little nougat bar, or you can add a 10mm, which takes a little more forcing in, but it's a really small one. Either option is great. If you feel like you need to match the angle of the other side, you can do that. You just kind of adjust it, pinch that, and I think that's good. I'm trying to decide if I like how close this is to the zipper, but I think I like it because it almost feels like you could even potentially like clip this or something. I don't know. Now, do I want to add a D-ring in addition, maybe on this side? Let me grab one and we'll see. See what we think. I'm gonna grab a D-ring and a triangle ring. I've also seen people add like slide adjusters. If we wanted, oh, an O-ring would look fun as well. So here is, if we wanted to maybe add a little D-ring, just for fun, or a little triangle ring. That one won't really sit flat, so I don't like that. No, I don't like you. Let me get an O-ring. Let me see if I have an O-ring. I don't have an O-ring. And like a slide adjuster just doesn't really make sense to me, but it would be purely decoration, but this gives it purpose. So I'm gonna add one of these, hopefully. I say hopefully because maybe I won't remember. I don't know. Okay, so let's see. We want to add, we know that this is 1 inch wide. Hold on, I'm gonna change the camera angle. All right, so we know that this is 1 inch wide, so we can lay our ruler at 1/2 inch. And there's technically room that I could be adding 3 rivets, but I just want to add 2. So since we've got about 4 inches, what do I want to do? Maybe 1.5 inches from the top edge, 1.5 inches, and maybe 1 inch up from there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so find that center. We're gonna do 1.5 inches, and then technically 1 inch. That feels good, because then it's also not blocking our zipper panel. No, it is. That's fine. All right, 1.5 inches, and then the next 1 inch. I think it's good. Yeah. So yeah, it's 1.5 inches, and then the next whole 1 inch. So it's like 1.25 inches from the bottom. And then I'm not gonna go punching through everything. I'm just gonna punch through the exterior pieces first. And we're probably not going to be able to use the handheld punch for the other holes, but this is where I want it to be. So I'm gonna go through this connector, make sure I'm going past, there we go, to mark out those holes. You wanna go past the stuff still stuck. You can also poke it all out, but there's that. And then let's see if we can do this with just our connector here. And we're not trying to go through everything. Yeah, we're gonna need our press, so we'll shift for that. All right, we're gonna grab 2, 4, 6, 8 rivets. And these are just 9x9. Okay, we're gonna come under here, make sure that your lining is flat, and make sure that when you poke these holes, you're not going through anything that's gonna be a big deal. We'll move that out of the way. Move this to where it feels better for us. And there's that. This rivet is going to go right through my zipper panel or my zipper overlay accent piece. I'm okay with it. I think it's going to look great in the end, and it is what it is. But if you didn't want that, you could probably cut your connectors to like 4 inches and they'll sit up a little bit higher. Whew. Scary. Poking holes in your bag after you've made it. Okay, and then you're just working your rivet through those layers. Oh no. Okay, I went straight through some stitches there. I'll grab some glue. Okay. Okay, we'll never know that it happened. I added glue on the stitches and hid them under the rivet, and added some glue through there. The rivet's in a really nice spot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm very happy with that. I do think it probably would have been a better idea to make it to where you did top stitch through the connector, but I just know that I'll be so much happier with it because I didn't, you know? So I'm gonna live with my choice. That's what we have to do in life. And so I think for this one, I can use my handheld punch to get the top one at least, but I'm not gonna be able to get the other one. I don't know if it's helpful or not to put one in and then do your other, maybe, just so you don't lose your layers. I don't know. Oh my gosh, it's definitely gonna happen. Okay. I mean, it is what it is, right? It'll work out. We don't want to go through our other connector again. The one thing we want to focus on is our lining staying together as much as possible. And I'm just going to move this one down a teeny tiny bit in hopes that I don't cut through my threads. Hey, I didn't. Go me. Okay, and this is the one we're adding a little D-ring to. So I'm going to slide that on here. And I haven't set any rivet yet, and that's okay, I will. Just want to test it out. Yeah, I love the way that looks. And there's that side. So we'll go ahead and set these now. And just be really careful that you do not bend a rivet, set it crooked. Okay, those two are good. Take off my clip at the top. And I'm just working with half of the bag at a time. I want to get this done. And then I'll focus on the other side. Whoops. Okay. So there is that half. Good to go. Oh, I didn't think about that. I kind of like that. That like the straps will be able to like really sit down in there. I don't hate it. All right, now here we are at the other side of the bag. So we're gonna lay this into place where we want it. We've already punched our first holes. Just make sure we're getting through and that we're liking where these holes are. I do. Okay. And then we want to match the angle as well. Okay. Make sure you pull that zipper panel up or you are going to be sad. Don't forget it. You'll regret it. Lauren knows best. And we will punch our hole. We are not trying to go through that connector again. We just want to go through a flat part of the interior. Make sure that your slip pocket lining is out of the way. Whoops. And then I'm just going to make a simple webbing crossbody strap for this at a later date. The crossbody strap is definitely not crucial to the bag. The most crucial part is that we rivet our handles on at all. I'm going to rivet this into place. Pressed. And here is that other one, and we're just above our lining slip. Okay. Grab our posts and caps. And then we will need 4 more rivets to attach our handles. And like, I really feel like these connectors are pretty secure. We've got them stitched into the seam twice technically, and now they've been riveted on twice. The weight is distributed between those 2 rivets. And then another thing to be sure of is that your holes are not too big for your fabric, for your rivets, I should say. I have a 2mm hole punch, I believe, and like, it can be a little tricky to get the rivet through that at times, but you'd rather that then your rivet be able to just like come right through, you know? There we go. Yeah, these rivets are pretty much completely hidden underneath that zipper panel as well. So I am very happy with the measurements that I completely made up today. Oops. Gotta give myself some props, some kudos. And we'll go ahead and rivet these into place. Like I said, we'll grab more posts and caps. Oh, that was it. Yay. I was really like, oh, I gotta do all 4 of these. 1, 2. It's good. It's good. All right, so we can go ahead and remove our clips and prep our straps. Just kind of reshape the bag. And And then another tool from Jolili Creations that I really like using is our strap template tool. And I just use the A and B holes, nope, A and C. A and C. So all you have to do is just lay this template into place. A and C. A and C. And that is where you're going to punch those holes to rivet your handles on. And then you know you've got the same distance each time. And then just make sure that you decide if you want your folded edge inside or outside. And I am putting mine on the inside, and then do that the same on your other strap. And these are gonna go on the same side of the bag, so they're not gonna go across. They're gonna go, let's say you have the front facing you, it's gonna U-shape across the front only. Make sure there's no twisting in your strap. It sits nicely. And then we'll repeat that on this side. My stitching is on the inside. Cap and post. It's like, oh, come on. No twisting. Clip that together. And now you've got your handles attached. It looks so good. I'm like, wait, did I made that up? Just made it up? And we can still kind of see under here, so we can even hide our zipper pull if we really wanted to. I mean, obviously not that well, but now it's almost done. We just need to add our zipper end, which I'll do later, and rivet these handles on. Create our crossbody strap if we'd like, but I think this turned out really good. These corners are literally perfection. It was so fun to just like find that template piece in my stash. Feel a little crazy about it. Thank you for joining me to make this up, and I hope that you kind of follow it to create it. I hope that you feel a little more inspired to just be creative in bag making and not take it so seriously, not make it so rigid and get caught up in each and every single little rule. So I hope you have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye.